Happy New Year! There are lots of changes in the marketing world that are coming in this new 2022 year. And while we can't know all of them, there's always going to be surprises, there are still a lot of very clear trends that are going to continue to grow throughout this year. So in this video, I'm going to take you through some of these really big trends and what you should expect. My name is Trent Kennelly. I'm a marketing strategist, and on this channel, I talk about all the things that you can do to improve your business through marketing, sales, and analytics. So that sounds good to you and you're excited. Make sure that you like this video. Subscribe to my channel if you're into it. Comment and let me know what you're most excited about from a marketing perspective in 2022. I would love to know. Maybe we can figure out what things are coming next that we didn't even see. And let's get started. So for our first trend this year, VR is going mainstream. Now, by now you've probably heard about Facebook's big change, changing their name to Meta and moving beyond social media into the Metaverse. Now, the concept of a Metaverse you might think is brand new with Facebook/Meta, but it isn't new. You can check out this video for a lot of details on Metaverses, how business is being done in there, etc. But really what we're looking at here is that a big corporation like Facebook or Meta is sometimes necessary to bring something like this into the mainstream, and that's kind of what's happened here. Metaverses have been around for 10, 15 years at least. Basically, as long as cryptocurrency has been around, there have been metaverses, but the Oculus Quest 2 and the Metaverse and all of that was really the driving force behind bringing this to the forefront to everyone's attention. And the Quest has been out for a few years, the Quest 2, but this year it saw a 42% increase in sales over last Christmas due to this mainstream attention that now metaverses are getting. What's really interesting here is that the attention is not being drawn just towards Meta itself. People are realizing now more than ever the power of these digital spaces for business. So other metaverses that have been around for significantly longer, as I just mentioned, are now becoming more important as well. So on this year, what I would expect to see is a platform battle that really starts to take root between some of these big players. It's really likely to come down in many respects to the philosophy of each of these, because Facebook/Meta wants to be the corporate overlord of your digital life, while Decentraland and Somnium Space and Wilder Worlds and some of these others are trying to give you real ownership opportunities online. So people are going to have to decide at some point between their addiction to the products that Meta produces and the appeal of similar experiences, but with that component of individual ownership kind of baked in there. The next trend I want to talk about is Web 3.0's increased importance. So just to explain what this means, ever since cryptocurrency and blockchain have started to become really, really important and big players, it's kind of sent entrepreneurs down this crazy rabbit hole where it seems like every third startup is a blockchain startup. But there is huge benefit to this technology, and it's kind of ushered in this era of self-ownership, and that's what Web 3.0 is really about. Web 1 and Web 2, anything that you did online was somehow beholden to someone else. So your website, your hosting, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Google, all of these things are ultimately owned, or you have to pay someone else to have it. Whereas Web 3.0 surrounds the idea that the users now have the opportunity to buy real things that they can really own online. So that's what we're talking about when we talk about NFTs, when we talk about digital land, when we talk about digital goods and e-commerce and that sort of stuff. So it's really important that we have this idea of individual ownership, and that's what Web 3.0 is all about. So the significance of this from a marketing perspective is that we're going to start to see these digital and non-digital spaces kind of come together, because with real ownership comes all the trappings of the physical world. So we're talking about inclusion and exclusion of individuals. You can choose who you want to let into your property, for instance. Sales of digital things for high value sums, new markets and opportunities that we have not even foreseen yet that will not have any physical presence at all, or might have a physical and digital presence together that we just haven't seen come out yet. But also consider that from that physical digital melding perspective, digital spaces will still be able to sell physical products. Now that hasn't happened yet to a great extent, but it's not long until we have physical stores having digital locations that will then send you the physical product. I don't understand how it hasn't happened yet, but this is coming very, very soon. The next trend to talk about is privacy. So 2021 was a huge year for privacy. Apple and Google made some huge changes to to who can track what and when. You can watch this video for more details on that. And it made life really difficult for data-driven companies like Facebook/Meta. These sorts of changes are not going to go away in the new year. It's not just added status quo and that's where it stops. Facebook is fighting them as hard as possible, but people just simply don't want to knowingly give the data away. Now, that of course ignores that if we pretend we don't know anything about our data being stolen, we just seem to be fine with it. I mean, a good example of that is that Facebook still exists after stealing all of our data. But in any case, all of this means that we are very likely going to have a harder and harder time as marketers understanding the activity of our customers going forward. We're just getting closer and closer to broadcast advertisements, billboards, and TV ads like we've had in the past. Next, let's talk about super niching. So the pandemic and the events surrounding it, like George Floyd's murder, have pushed people to understand societal inequalities far more clearly than they have in the past. I mean, now it's kind of opened our eyes to a lot of things that have been happening to a lot of groups for a long time that we really just didn't pay attention to. And as a result, companies are hiring more and more diversity, equity, and inclusion professionals than they ever have before, DE&I professionals, which means that they are starting to pay attention to these niche groups, and they're starting to identify different personalities, and they're understanding that identifying these very, very niche personalities is absolutely key to getting them to relate to your product or service. So it's important for you to not only clearly understand your niche, you can check out this video for more details on how to identify your niche, but also the demographic and cultural subgroups inside each one, so you can specifically talk to each subgroup. The next trend I want to talk about is storytelling. So truth be told, storytelling is always important. Everyone is attracted by stories. So to call storytelling itself a trend is a little bit disingenuous, but the trend here is actually the way that stories are being told. So companies are traditionally telling stories about their products, but, and this goes along with super niching, people need to be spoken to more directly. People want to care about their products, and more they want to feel invested in the products that they purchase. And this is the key difference. We need to provide stories that make people feel individually involved now. Loyalty and a good story are really the name of the game right now. It's not about what the product can do, it's about what the product can do for you. Benefits over features. The next trend to talk about is sustainability. So when the pandemic forced the world to go inside for a few months, we suddenly saw a drastic effect on the Earth. Emissions levels went down across the globe, which slowed down the continuing temperature increases and all that sort of stuff. And suddenly people started to pay more attention to environmental impact because we saw the change happening in front of us. So now with Gen Z leading the charge, people are looking more and more to hold brands accountable for their environmental impact. This is driving even some of the biggest companies like Amazon and Microsoft to clean up their most wasteful practices. What this means from a practical perspective is that you need to think about two different things. First, what can you do to be more sustainable to reduce your carbon footprint as a company? What you're trying to do here is you're trying to figure out ways that your company can promote sustainability and add to the movement a little bit. And this is vital because the next question is how to advertise it. And if you aren't actually trying to be sustainable, if it's not an actual effort, that's actually going to eventually hurt you rather than help you if you're advertising that you are sustainable. Because you're gonna say you're sustainable, it might work for a few years. Suddenly you're going to have a report that comes out that actually you've been lying the whole time. You'll destroy your whole business. Just don't do it. People don't like to be lied to, okay? So assuming you are sustainable, the question is where you can place a seal or indicate in your ads that you're a sustainable brand. Maybe that's in the copy, maybe that's in the imagery that you use for your ads, etc. For more information on this, I dedicated a whole video to it, which you can watch right here. And then my final trend for you today is that fewer channels is becoming more important. So this is as much a point of practicality as it is a trend, because with things like the Metaverse and new social media channels and new ways to advertise yourself popping up all the time, it's getting harder and harder to be everywhere that you feel like you need to be and that you want to be, right? You can't be on 5,000 different channels. You obviously want to be known as widely as possible, but building your brand is hard work. And for the most part, businesses just don't have the bandwidth to be on every single channel. It's just not feasible, okay? And that's why it's becoming increasingly important to focus down. You want to find channels that will provide the biggest impact without overloading you. So there are some of the huge things that are happening in 2022. There's likely to be a lot that we never even saw coming, so keep an eye out for it. I'm sure we will be talking about it on this channel. But in the meantime, it's important not to jump on every single trend. I mean, honestly, that's more likely to overload you without any real material gain. So just don't do that. Try to focus on what's gonna work best for your business. So I hope that this video was helpful for you. Let me know what you're most excited about from a marketing perspective in this new year. Otherwise, make sure you like this video, subscribe to my channel if you're into it, and I will catch you in the next one.